Have you ever looked at a painting so vivid, so lifelike, and it almost feels like it's breathing? What if I told you that some art isn't just inspired by life, but created from it? Tonight, we delve into the shadows of the art world, into a story that blurs the line between genius and madness, beauty and terror. This is the tale of the painter who used human blood in his works. Our story begins in the dimly lit bohemian streets of late 19th century Paris, a city of art, romance, and dark secrets. Here, a reclusive and enigmatic artist named Julien Devereux was making a name for himself. His paintings were unlike anything the world had ever seen. The reds in his portraits were not merely paint. They possessed a depth, a vibrancy that seemed to pulse with an uncanny vitality. His subject's cheeks flushed with a warmth that defied the canvas, and the crimson of a sunset seemed to bleed right out of the frame. Critics were baffled. They praised his unique technique, his revolutionary use of color, but they couldn't decipher his secret. Devereux's reds were described as hauntingly alive, viscerally real, while his contemporaries experimented with new chemical pigments. Devereux claimed he had rediscovered an ancient organic formula. He was secretive, working only at night, allowing no one into his studio. His success grew, but so did the whispers and rumors that clung to him like the Parisian fog. People described Devereux as a phantom. Pale, gaunt, with eyes that burned with a feverish intensity, he was rarely seen in daylight. He purchased his canvases, his brushes, his oils, but never, ever, any red paint. When questioned, he would simply smile, a thin, unnerving curve of his lips, and say, "I create my own." This strange detail was initially dismissed as the eccentricity of a genius. But soon, a darker pattern began to emerge in the city. A series of unexplained disappearances began to plague the impoverished districts of Montmartre. Vagrants, street performers, lone wanderers, people who lived on the fringes of society, people who wouldn't be missed right away. The police were stumped. There were no witnesses, no signs of struggle, just a cold, empty space where a person used to be. The city's fear grew, a stark contrast to the celebrated beauty of Devereux's art, which was now fetching astronomical prices. One evening, a young, ambitious journalist named Elise Dubois decided to investigate the celebrated artist. She was fascinated by his work, but also deeply suspicious of the myth surrounding him. She believed the disappearances and Devereux's sudden rise to fame were connected. Posing as an art student eager to learn from the master, she managed to secure a rare audience with Devereux. The artist's studio was located in a decaying tenement building, up a winding, rickety staircase. The air grew colder with each step. When Devereux opened the door, Elise was struck by his appearance. He was exactly as the rumors described, a specter in a paint-splattered smock. But what truly chilled her was the smell. Beneath the familiar scent of turpentine and linseed oil was a faint, coppery, metallic odor. The smell of old pennies. The smell of blood. Devereux was polite, almost charming, but his eyes never left hers. He showed her his latest work, a portrait of a woman with fiery red hair. The color was astonishingly real. Elise complimented him, her voice trembling slightly. "Your reds, Monsieur Devereux. They are legendary. What is your secret?" He chuckled, a dry, rattling sound. "The secret, mademoiselle, is passion. True art requires a sacrifice. It demands a piece of the soul, a piece of life itself." His words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. As he turned to adjust a canvas, Elise's eyes darted around the studio. It was sparse, but in a dark corner, partially hidden by a velvet curtain, she saw something that made her heart stop. A stack of small, labeled glass vials. She could only make out a few of the labels from a distance. Giselle, the flower girl. Antoine, the musician. These were the names of people who had recently vanished. Terror seized her. Every painting in that room wasn't just a work of art. It was a memorial, a tombstone. The vibrant reds weren't a special pigment. They were the lifeblood of his victims. Devereaux hadn't just painted portraits. He had painted with the people themselves. He was draining his victims, using their blood to create his living masterpieces. The sacrifice he spoke of wasn't his own. It was theirs. Elise knew she had to escape. Making a clumsy excuse, she backed towards the door. But Devereaux was too quick. His charming demeanor vanished, replaced by a cold, predatory stare. "Leaving so soon?" he whispered, blocking her path. "But you have not yet seen my finest work. I have been looking for a new subject, someone with fire in her eyes. Someone like you." He lunged. Elise screamed, grabbing the nearest object, a heavy turpentine jar, and hurled it at him. It struck him in the head, giving her a precious second to wrench the door open and flee down the stairs. She didn't stop running until she burst into the nearest police station, gasping for breath, her story tumbling out in a frantic, terrified torrent. At first, the police were skeptical, the ravings of a hysterical woman. But Elise was persistent, and her reputation as a journalist gave her story weight. They agreed to investigate. When the police stormed Devereaux's studio, they found it empty. The artist had vanished. But the evidence he left behind was horrifying. They found the hidden vials, each one a testament to a stolen life. They analyzed the paint on his canvases, and their worst fears were confirmed. It was human blood. The news sent shockwaves through Paris and the entire art world. Devereaux's beautiful paintings were now seen for what they truly were: grotesque monuments to a serial killer. They were removed from galleries, hidden away in vaults, deemed too monstrous for public display. Julien Devereaux, the celebrated artist, became Julien Devereaux, the vampire of Montmartre. He was never found. He simply disappeared, leaving behind a legacy of horror. Some say he fled the country, continuing his gruesome work under a new name. Others believe he still roams the hidden alleyways of Paris, a timeless phantom forever searching for the perfect shade of red. His story serves as a chilling reminder that sometimes the most beautiful things can hide the darkest secrets. And that behind a masterpiece, there might be more than just paint on a canvas. There might be a scream, trapped forever in a stroke of crimson. So the next time you're in a gallery and a painting seems a little too real, a little too alive, look closer at the red. You never know what or who it might be made of. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as chilling as I did, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into the darkness. Stay safe.